Good morning. If this is working, then we're together. How can I know? There's a little note here. It says it's live now. Is there something to push that I could see you? I'm not sure how that works. All right, we'll learn the shir. We were in the middle of Perek Yud Beis, Tanya. We got up to the point of learning that the Beinani, who is neither a Rasha nor a Tzaddik, what exactly is he? Where does he fit into all this? He's never called. It tells us here that he never transgresses an Aveira, never did, never will, and will never have the name Rasha applied to him in all his life and all his days. How could a person possibly live up to that? How can we achieve such a level when we know that there were things in our life that were not the way they should have been? The Rebbe answers this is through the power of tshuva. The tshuva can transform anything that was negative into not just something that wasn't negative, something that wasn't a problem, but you actually make it a merit and the driving factor in our personality. Just like, by way of an example, if a person has a problem that a common problem is smoking. Excuse me, I just take a drink. I said the bracha before. And he stops smoking. After he stops smoking, it's very annoying to be in a room where people are smoking. It bothers him, even though he used to do it almost without any self-control. Once he gained that self-control, he can't be around people who smoke. So similarly, when a person has a problem in his life, let's say here's a real subtle problem. A person talks about other people. Sometimes he says not good things, sometimes he says not bad things. Maybe it's like we said yesterday, avak lashon hara, bordering on lashon hara. And he takes on himself not to do that, not to do so at all. And he really stays away from it. The fact that formerly he had a problem with this, now as soon as he senses that the conversation is going anywhere near talking about somebody else, he stays away, or he tries to steer the conversation away to a different point. I'll give you an example. There was a very holy Jew who lived in our community, Rabbi Friedman, Yankel Friedman. He hardly spoke. He used to go around collecting money. The Rebbe held from him a lot. He used to collect money. He used to go to dozens, maybe even more, maybe hundreds of shuls every day, collecting money for children to learn Torah, Chadrei Torah, or an institution in Eretz Yisrael. He didn't talk. He used just to come in, slap his few dollar bills in the palm of his hand, and people used to give him money. Everybody respected him. He was a student of the Chofetz Chaim, and he came to Chabad. He learned Hasidus. And I was told about him the following Maisa, that one time he went to the doctor for a checkup. Dr. Rosen discovered that he was blind in one eye, and nobody ever knew. His family didn't know. He was blind in one eye. Dr. Rosen said, how did this happen? And he said that because when he was in the war, in a concentration camp, what the guards used to do, out of their cruelty, they used to deliberately give less portions of food than there were people who needed them, because they enjoyed seeing how the prisoners would fight amongst themselves in order to cause strife amongst their prisoners. This is what they would do. And one time, a fight broke out because of this, because two people were arguing about who should get a certain portion. And it became very lively, and the argument became heated. And there was a capo, a Jewish person, his responsibility was to supervise the meal. And when people would not calm down, he had a whip. And he took his whip and he went to strike the people who were fighting. And by accident, the whip hit Reb Yankov in the face and blinded him in his eye, and he was injured. He had to be taken to whatever kind of medical facility they had there to take care of him. And that's why he lost his eye. This is the story that he revealed. Nobody, even in his family, did not know this story. And when I heard the story, I was told that his son-in-law said that the rest of his days he regretted that he had said something negative about another Jew, that this capo had injured him. So you see from that how it bothered him so much that he had spoken in a negative way about another Jew, that would motivate him the rest of his life never to say something negative about another person. And that's how tshuva transforms negative things into positive motivation. Continuing, Perek Yud Beis. I can't tell you what page we're on because my copy of Rabbi Weinberg's commentary on the Tanya is by you in the dorm. And so I have the Tanya in the original in front of me. You probably may have a printout, or you're looking into your computers to Chabad.org where it teaches that. We're up to the point here where the Beinani never is called Rasha in his whole days. However, so what makes him not a tzaddik? We have to find out why isn't he a tzaddik. Mahus va'atzmas nefesh elokis. The essence, now here is a very important line. The essence, the very essence of the godly soul. What is the essence of your godly soul? Here the Alter Rebbe tells you, Shein eser b'chinei sechal. These are the 10 aspects of the soul, which we learned about in chapter 3, and we've spoken about them in chapter 4, and we've spoken about them in all the chapters after that. These 10 aspects, which come from the 10 spheres, the holy spheres in Hashem, that Hashem emanates from Himself. This is the essence of what the godly soul is. Perhaps in other Maimorim, it's going to say there are even higher levels than that the essence of the soul is higher even than any number, higher even than the 10 spheres, in the essence of godliness. But here is a point where it achieves a certain definition in the 10 holy aspects of godliness in Atzilus. So the essence of this godly soul, if it's a tzaddik, this is the power that's in control of the person's life. However, in the Beinani, what does it say? Loi lahen levadan hamalucha v'hamemshala b'ir. They are not solely, these 10 powers, the essence of the godly soul, is not solely in control of the city, which is the physical life of this person. The Ir Katana, the small city that the two kings are fighting over it. Ki'im be'itim mizumanim, except at special times. There are special times when the godly soul is totally in control of the person's life. For instance, K'mei b'shas Kriya Shema, when you say Kriya Shema, like in the morning now, Utefila, and when a person davens, Shehi Shas Moichen de Gadlus. Now we've had this expression several times, and we've spoken about it at length. What does it mean, Moichen de Gadlus? Moichen means intellect, brains. Gadlus means greatness. So what is the time of the greatness of Hashem's brains? What does this mean? What is this term all about? B'shas Moichen de Gadlus. when we say Kriya Shema and Tefillah, the Alter Rebbe is saying, this is Shas Moichin the Godless. Well, we have a beautiful day today, and if you're able to look out the window, I guess you can't see it there, the way the Machon is situated. But here I have a beautiful view of the sun shining on the buildings and the beautiful blue sky, and this is Moichin the Godless. What's happening? Moichin the Godless is when Hashem reveals His greatness. And the simplest way of expressing it. Moichin the Godless is how Hashem reveals His greatness, and reveals it from the level of intellect, that the intellect can perceive Hashem's greatness. Or we can put it in different terms. Here we have 10 spheres. 10 godly spheres in godliness. When Hashem, we learned this in chapter 3, when Hashem shines His infinite light into these spheres, it's just like if we have 10 vessels, if we have a vessel that's colored blue, and we pour water into it, that water now appears blue. If we have a vessel that's colored red, and we pour water into it, it's now the water in the vessel is going to appear crimson red. Is the water crimson red? No. It's not blue, it's not red, it's clear. But the vessel gives it its light. So when Hashem, by way of metaphor, when Hashem will shine His infinite light and energy into these spheres that He's created, then we see what this sphere is. So on the first day of creation, Hashem shines His light into the quality of chesed, which He creates. He creates His quality of chesed, and then shines His light into it. So we have a vessel, which is chesed, and we have the light, which is in the vessel. And what happens? There's light. Light is created in the universe. Hashem shine. This is what the Torah teaches us, that on the first day, Hashem shines His light into the quality of chesed, and the result is that, expressed in the words, that Hashem says, let there be light, and there is light. And on the second day, Monday, Hashem shines His light into the second vessel, which is Gevurah, and this becomes the dominant light of the day. And what happens? Hashem divides the waters. Until now, there's darkness upon the face of the deep. The world is covered in water. And on the second day, Hashem shines His light into the quality of Gevurah, and the waters separate. And Hashem separates them into upper waters, which remain above the heavens, and lower waters, which remain down here. And on the third day, Hashem shines His light into Tiferes, into the third vessel, and we have a harmony of both of these qualities, both Chesed and Gevurah together, and this is the quality of harmony and beauty and truth. And so on the third day we have both qualities. We have Chesed, because on the third day what happens? The waters continue to retreat and gather into oceans and lakes and rivers. So that's the idea of Gevurah. And now the land appears, and with the land appearing, so growth begins. All kinds of trees and grasses and vegetation. And so we have both growth and restriction. And the third day, which is Tiferes, which is the beauty of expresses the beauty of Hashem's creation. The first of these qualities, returning to the text, is Chesed. And when is Hashem's Chesed first expressed? In the morning, when the sun comes up and the world is filled with light, and we have a reenactment of the creation of the world. So Hashem reveals His greatness, and we see, what a wonderful day. They write songs about it. What a wonderful morning, what a wonderful day. Harasha, Slava Boga. It's wonderful. Everything's good. And we see the greatness of Hashem. That's the way it is. So Hashem shines His light into His quality of greatness. So the quality of Chesed is also called in Kabbalah language godless, greatness. So Hashem shines His light into the vessel of greatness, the vessel of chesed, and the world comes alive. And that's when we say Shema. And then we daven and we ask Hashem for all our needs. So this is said to be Shas Moichen de Gadlus Lamaila. This is called Hashem revealing His greatness from on high, or on high. And then the Alter Rebbe continues, now that we know this, so this is the most opportune moment, the most appropriate moment, V'gam Lamata, down below in our own lives, Shas HaKosher, this is a very special time for us, L'kol Adam, for every single person, Sha'az Makasher Chabad Shalai, that we can respond in kind. And just like Hashem is revealing His greatness, which comes before Hashem shines His light into Chesed, first there has to go through Chabad, through His wisdom, through His Bina, through His Das, then it comes from Das into Chesed. So it's the same, it's appropriate for us at this time, it's most normal thing for us to be doing at this time, the most perfect thing for us to be doing at this time is to connect our wisdom and our understanding and our knowledge, which is the power of connecting to this idea, La Hashem, and to connect to La Havaya, to connect our thoughts, our qualities of Chabad to the name of Hashem. To Hashem, to the name of Hashem. How do we do this? How do you connect yourself to Hashem? We've learned this. This the Alter Rebbe taught us the way back in chapter 3. When a person has to meditate as much as he can with depth on the greatness of Hashem. And we did this exercise. How does a person meditate on the greatness of Hashem? First, you think about the whole world around you. You think about everything you can think about, and how Hashem is giving life to every single detail of our existence. For example, so I used to tell you about how when I would walk with my children to shul, along the street we see all the trees. First of all, they lose all their leaves. Then at this time of year, as soon as it gets just a few degrees warmer, the trees suddenly know that it's time to start growing. The crocus roots start pushing up through the earth. The buds start coming out on the branches. And there's so many buds, and so many twigs, and so many branches, and so many trees, and so many streets. And every one of these buds is so perfect and so beautiful, and it's going to become a leaf. And Hashem is giving life to all of these at once. And we see here the infinite life of Hashem expressing itself in the whole world. That's level number one, thinking about the greatness of Hashem. How great is Hashem, how great and wonderful is this whole creation. And then we move to stage 2 to remember that all of this is not Hashem. This is only an expression of His chesed. But Hashem is much, much more than all that. Hashem is so great that the world can't contain His greatness. The world is just a place that, what do we say in the Haggadah? Hashem is called the place. What kind of a name is that for God? A place? Hashem is the place? Yes, the sages say Hashem is called the place because He is the creator of the world. He is the place of the world. The whole world finds its place in Him, but the whole world is not His place. He's far more than that. And that's what we call Soiviv Kol Almin. And how do we understand what Soiviv Kol Almin is? You recall what Rabbi Charitonov taught me so many years ago, that Mamale Kol Almin and Soiviv Kol Almin, these two terms, that Hashem fills the world with life, and Hashem surrounds the world with life. What's the difference between them, I asked him. And he said, each of these levels of God has a message. The message of Mamale Kol Almin is that every single thing in the world is given its life and kept in life, minute by minute, second by second, by the creative power of Hashem. And Soiviv Kol Almin, the message of Soiviv Kol Almin is that there is no world. There's only Hashem. There is only Hashem. His power cannot be contained by anything in the world, because anything in the world is limited, and He is unlimited. And these are two sides of the same coin, that because one side of the coin is that He fills the world with life, the other side of the coin is he's not even connected with the world. He's outside of everything. What does it mean He's outside of everything? Not outside from above or below, but through and through. Just like, and we use the example of your cell phone, that someone calls you on your cell phone, and the call goes through the walls, doesn't recognize that there's walls, doesn't recognize barriers, doesn't recognize limitations and divisions, at least to a certain degree. It's a good metaphor, a good image of what it means that Hashem is higher than all the things that make up the details of our world, and things from the higher levels of the light spectrum, they don't recognize these divisions at all. So we have X-rays and all other kinds of rays that travel at 186,000 miles a second, and you can call overseas in 2 seconds, in a split second, by tapping into these powers. So we have 2 levels of meditating on the greatness of Hashem, and then the third level of meditating on the greatness of Hashem is to realize that both of these levels, He fills the worlds with life, and He's beyond the life in the worlds, are both aspects of world, and the world, the whole concept of world, is a hiding of God. If God does not hide Himself, there's no world. For the world to exist, Hashem has to hide Himself. If Hashem would be revealed, even the tiniest chink of His essence, the whole world would be blasted out of existence. It could not tolerate the revelation. It would be far, far, far too intense. Where do we see this? In last week's Sedra, Moshe asks Hashem to reveal Himself to him. He says, if I have found favor in your eyes, you're telling me, Hashem, that I alone have found favor in your eyes. If I have found favor in your eyes, number 1, do not destroy this people. And number 2, show me who you really are, what you really are. So Hashem said, okay. He put him into a crevice, a cave in the rock, and He covered him with His hands, and He passed over above him, in front of him, and taught him the prayer that's higher than creation, higher than the Torah, the 13 attributes of Hashem's mercy. And at that moment, Hashem covered him with His hand to protect him. He says, because you cannot see me, no person can see my face and live. But what He did, He allowed a crack of light through, so to speak, we might imagine the fingers that were covering Moshe, and he perceived Hashem from the back, like you're davening in shul, and you see the chazan standing in the front of the shul, and he's wearing a talis and tefillin, and his head is bowed because he's looking into the siddur davening, and it's tremendously inspiring to see the holiness of the chazan who's praying to Hashem, and that inspires you to be able to pray to Hashem. That's what Moshe perceived. He perceived the back, and it says he saw the back of the knot of Hashem's tefillin. Hashem wears physical tefillin though. Hashem has tefillin that are totally spiritual tefillin, and the Medrash asks the question, in our tefillin it says, it declares the unity of God. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. What's written in Hashem's tefillin? What's written in Hashem's tefillin is the unity of the Jewish people, who express and reveal the unity of God in the world. Who is like my people Israel in the whole world? That's what's written in Hashem's tefillin. Hashem's tefillin are the praise of Israel. Our tefillin are the praise of Hashem. Hashem's tefillin are the praise of the Jewish people. So that's how we think step by step through the three levels that the Alter Rebbe teaches us of meditating on the greatness of Hashem. And when do we do this? In the morning is the best time, because Hashem is revealing His greatness at that time. Oh, what a beautiful morning. And if we complete this meditation, girls, it's guaranteed, the Alter Rebbe guarantees, this will awaken a feeling of love in your heart and a desire to be connected to Hashem. What is this love? This is the first level of love that the Alter Rebbe writes about. We've had discussions in the previous chapters of deeper levels of love. This is the first level called Rishpei Eish, that a flaming fire in the heart, in the right side of the heart, B'chol hayamoni shebalibe, which fills a person with a desire l'dav gaboy, to cling to God. When you love someone, you want to cling to them. B'kiyam atayra, and how does a person cling? Just a second. You have to excuse me for a second. Shulamit, Cindy, my wife is calling you, please. Okay. When you love something, you love someone, you want to be connected to it. If you love it, you want to have it with you. You want to know where it is. You want to know what's doing with it. If it's your child, you want to have a connection with the child that you love. And when we love Hashem, we want to be connected to Hashem. How do we connect to Hashem? We connect to Hashem through doing Torah, learning Torah, and doing His mitzvahs. Me'ahava. Now there are two ways. But if it's love that is connecting us, leading us, then we have to do Torah and mitzvahs with love. We can't just do them coldly, by rote, going through the motions, without being involved. Shazehu inyan hamavur b'Kriyas Shema, and that's exactly what we're talking about when we say Kriyas Shema in the morning. Because what is Kriyas Shema? When we say Kriyas Shema, I want to make this point clear, that meditating on the greatness of Hashem leads a person to have love like flaming fire in his heart, and therefore the prayer that we utter at this time is a prayer of love. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. Blessed be the name of His glorious kingdom forever and ever. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. These are the words that we're saying. And it's not philosophy. That's an expression of how we're supposed to be feeling as we say those words. V'hoyim Shemeya, in the second paragraph of the Shema, if you will listen and diligently follow my commandments, which I enjoin upon you today, to love the Lord your God and serve Him with all your heart and with all your soul. So these are the words of Kriyas Shema, and these are the words of davening that we say at this time, because this is the most appropriate time to give expression to these feelings. At this moment, the Yetzer Hara is out of the picture. At this moment, the Yetzer Tov is solely in control of the heart, and the heart your heart is filled with love of Hashem. And these are feelings also. Kriya Shema is an ordinance from the Torah itself, Deiraisa. U'bircheiseha, and the love of Hashem is also expressed in the blessings that we say before Kriya Shema and after Kriya Shema, these are instituted. They were taught to us by the rabbis, the sages of the men of the Great Assembly. Shehein midarabanan, these are the sages who established the blessings before and after Kriya Shema. Hein hachana l'kiyam Kriya Shema, which are a preparation for keeping Kriya Shema. For instance, the blessings before we come to say Shema, what do we say? Avinu Avarachaman, our Father, source of all mercy, merciful one, please have mercy upon us and put in our hearts knowledge and understanding, that we should discerning, that we should hear and learn and teach and follow and do and fulfill all of the words of your Torah. Be'ahava, with love. This is the prayer that we say just before saying Kriya Shema. So that is a preparation for saying Kriya Shema. Now you can ask yourself a question. How can we say that the blessing on Shema, which we say after Kriya Shema, is a preparation for Shema? So maybe that's just speaking a bit in general. It's not a preparation for saying Shema, but it's an enhancement. The blessing that we say after Kriya Shema, they enhance our feelings of love. We say, Hashem, for us you are true, it's certain, it's true, it's established, it's enduring, it's right. You are faithful, beloved, and cherished, delightful, sweet, awesome, and mighty, correct, and acceptable, good, and beautiful. All of this is for us, is to us for all eternity. And we go on with the most wonderful praises of Hashem. His words are living and eternal, faithful and pleasant forever and to all eternity. For our fathers, for our children, for our descendants, for all generations of all the children of Israel, your servants forever. This is what we say after Kriya Shema, all expressions of great love. Okay, that's the feelings that we're going through, that we should be having now at this time in the morning. And at this point, the godly soul is in sole control of the city. The Yetzer Hara doesn't have room to even squeak. And at this point, the evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara shebachol hasmoli, which likes to hang out in the left side of the heart, kafofu batal, is totally subdued and subjected to the toiv hamispashat, which is spreading out, filling the whole of the right side of the heart. And we learned in the last chapter, spilling over into the left side of the heart to be able to fulfill the commandment to love Hashem b'chol levavcha, with the right side of your heart and the left side of your heart together. B'chol yamani, and where is this coming from? This is all being generated from Chabad, from the Chabad, with our Chabad. Remember, at this time we're connecting our Chabad to the Chabad of Hashem. We're connecting our wisdom, our understanding, our intellectual perceptions and awareness with the source of all intellect, the source of all understanding, the source of all knowledge in holiness. Shebemoyach Chabad, which is in the mind, Hamakushorim, of those people who are connected, B'gedulas Ein Sof Baruch Hu, to the greatness of Hashem. So that when a person goes through this meditative process and his mind is connected to the greatness of Hashem, then this is the source that generates the feelings of love in the right side of the heart. Aval. Okay, so good for so far. But then you finish davening. And then you remember that you have a dentist appointment. And then you remember that you have to pay the rent. And you remember that you didn't eat breakfast yet and you're hungry. And you remember you have an assignment due. And remember you have to call mom and dad. You didn't speak to them in a while. And you remember you have to pick up your clothes from the cleaners because in 2 days is Shabbos. All these things you have to think about, and you're not thinking about Hashem anymore. You're not thinking about the sun and the blue sky and the buds on the trees. You're thinking about all the things, the distractions of life. Like Ruth Devora said the other day, we become highly distractible. Aval, Achar hatfila, as soon as you finish davening, v'stalkus hamoyin de gadlus, and now the awareness of the greatness of Hashem, v'stalken hamoyin de gadlus, the greatness of Hashem, our awareness. Hashem's greatness is still His greatness, but our awareness disappears, vanishes. Well, it leaves an impression, but it's no longer dominating. Hare, hara, chayzer, there's room now for the Yetzer Hara to come charging back. V'niyar b'cholol hasmoli, and reawakens, it finds its place again in the left side of the heart. U'misah b'taiva, and you're filled with all your regular desires. Some people at this time in the morning love to have a banana in their yogurt. It's like a rule, and they must have it. And we all have desires, and these desires make themselves felt in the left side of the heart. This is no longer meditating on the greatness of Hashem. And we think about all the things of Hashem in this physical world that we like and that we want, and we have to start planning, and even in the back of our mind, just automatically, how are we going to get them? So what does that mean? That we just lost the whole battle? Here we took precious ground in the struggle for control of the city, and now we just retreated and lost everything? No. Rak. The Yetzer Hara is not alone that he can take charge of your life. He's not the only one there. He cannot just take command of the whole city. He is not capable, and this is the difference between him and the Rasha, between the Beina and the Rasha, that the Yetzer Hara cannot influence the person to bring out and express his self-centered desires and drives into actuality. Now he's going to break it down part by part. Just listen to this. L'slabish ba'evri haguf. Then this is the difference of between the Beinani and the Rasha, that the Beinani, even though the Taivas are charging back into his heart, he does not allow them off the leash. They don't have free rein to express themselves in the Evri Haguf, in the limbs of his body, B'maisa, Dibur, U'machshava, right, Esther, Shira, not in thought, not in speech, not in action. V'hamik machshavta, and now he breaks it down. In the world of thought, to start to think and calculate and plan in his mind how he's going to acquire Tainug Olam Hazeh, the things that he wants, that he delights in, that the world has to offer. Echlemoles Taivas Libay, how is he going to fulfill the desires of his heart? Why? Now comes the fundamental lesson of Hasidus, the first thing. We learned in Hayom Yom just the other day, yesterday or the day before, Reb Moshe Beisel is a famous chassid of the Alter Rebbe. Was spying on Napoleon. Napoleon realized that he was spying on him the Alter Rebbe had sent him to spy on behalf of the Russians who were fighting against Napoleon. And Napoleon realized he was spying, and he ran over to him and he said to him, "You're a spy." And he put his hand on his heart, and to see if his heart would skip a beat, would palpitate, he would know that he had caught him and he would execute him on the spot. And his heart didn't. He just said, what are you talking about? His heart did not flip-flop, not one bit. And they said to him afterwards, "Reb Moshe, how did you manage to resist being a little bit frightened in front of the Emperor Napoleon when he caught you red-handed?" And he said, "Because the first thing we learned from the Alter Rebbe is Hamoyach Shalit al Halev. You walk on 2 feet, your head is higher than your heart, and that's the way it has to be. This is the rule number 1 of Hasidism, that you have to have a kind heart, and your mind has to rule over your heart." Ki hamoyach shalit al halev. And we learn this. The Alter Rebbe doesn't just say it on his own. He brings us down from the Zohar, written by Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd. It's the name of the book. He is the faithful shepherd. But Parshas Pinchas, in the parsha called Pinchas, which is about a whole unfortunate episode in the Jewish people's life after they left Egypt, when the people of Midian and Moab sent their daughters to seduce the Jewish men, and they were filled with desires which were improper, and there was a terrible outbreak of a plague because of this. And so one of the themes of this parsha is the mind being able to control the flaming hot desires of the heart. So that's where we learn about it. This, I'm sure, why he brings the reference here to Parshas Pinchas. The Alter Rebbe doesn't always bring a reference to what he says. But Toldosei, and it says there in the Zohar that this power of the mind to control the heart is something that a person inherits upon birth. As soon as you're born, this power is there. An infant doesn't have it, but as you grow up and you mature, you get it more and more and more. But Teva Yetzirosai, this is the nature that we are created with by Hashem Yisbarach. Shekach noitzer ha'adam, this is how Hashem makes a man. But Toldosei, from his earliest generation, Shekol Adam Yochol, the very, very important words here. Kol Adam Yochol b'ritzoynei shebemoichei lisapek. Every person has the power in his mind, through his willpower, through his desire, his will, which is in his mind, lisapek, to control himself, to rein in your desires, and not to fulfill them just because you have a desire doesn't make it right. And you can't say, you can't blame me. If Hashem didn't want me to be like this, He wouldn't have created me with these desires. On the contrary, Hashem creates everybody with their weaknesses and their strengths in order to bring out what's best in them. Everybody with the power of his Rotzain, his will in his mind, has the ability, this apek, to control himself, to hold himself in, v'lim shel beruach taivasei shel belibai, and to rule over the power of desires in his heart. Sholei lamoles meshalas libei, that he has the power to decide if he's going to fulfill his desires or he's not going to fulfill his desires, if he's going to have sushi or ice cream or not. I've told you before the humorous story about Rabbi Nemenov. The Rebbe said about him, we mentioned yesterday, he was a Beinani of the Tanya. He used to tell the Bochrim in the yeshiva they shouldn't indulge in ice cream. He was very strict about it. And my brother-in-law was one of his students. I remember when he came to eat with us, when he was a student, he came to Crown Heights, he ate with us, we served ice cream, he wouldn't touch it. Anyway, that was the influence of Rabbi Nemenov. One time, one of his former students saw him at a wedding eating ice cream. They went over to him and said, "Rabbi, you always told us we shouldn't have ice cream." And he looked at the bowl in front of him. He said, "Oh, this is ice cream? I thought it was cold soup." So this is the power a person has not to fulfill his desire, to decide whether he will fulfill his desires or not fulfill his desires. Just to conclude with one other very short story that you will remember because I mentioned it before, about this young man who told me that he had had Yechidus with the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe in Yechidus that he had taken upon himself to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, and he thought the Rebbe would compliment him for being a good little chassid, and he would grow up to be a Beinani. And instead, the Rebbe was very stern with him and very upset with him. He says, "Don't you know? Don't you remember? The Alter Rebbe writes clearly in the Tanya we're not allowed to fast." And he felt terrible. He wished he'd never opened his mouth. But then the Rebbe had mercy on him and smiled, and he said, "But if you want to continue in this form of self-discipline and service of Hashem, you want to learn how to discipline, control yourself, this is what I would suggest, to take the favorite dish that you have in front of you on the plate, leave over 1 spoonful." And he turned to me and he said, this was on the 5th day of 1975, Tafshin Lamed Hey. We were in a bus going to the cave of the Arizal, to the Oyhel of the Arizal. And he told me the story, and he turned to me and he said, "It's easier to fast a whole day than to leave over 1 spoonful." Have a good day, girls. Thank you very much. I hope that this has been a successful broadcast, and we'll hear if we can continue tomorrow, same time, same station.